Small town. Damn, that's you strictly.
And a record has been set. From ground zero to 59 conference championships, 23 Final Fours, 11 national championships, win streaks of 70, 90, and 111, and now the all-time winningest coach in the history of college basketball, Geno Auriemma.
Ladies and gentlemen, 1,217 is the number that cements Geno Auriemma as the winningest head coach in college basketball history. That was the call last night as UConn pulled off its 329th victory of 40 or more points under Geno Auriemma, and we are back to give you the real in sports. I'm your co-host, Small Town EP. They are Wade Julian live from New York City. Big Kev Shotted joins us again live from South Florida, and you are now tuned into your number one sports talk show on the All Things Sports Network. All Things Sports, brought to you by Small Town Productions, ticker up top, brought to you by ESPN Bet. Gentlemen, great to see you. Great to see you. Let's get right into it because we have a lot to get into. First off, Kev, we spoke pre-show. I just introduced it. Geno Auriemma, winningest head coach in college basketball history. Tell me about your biggest takeaways and what this means to college basketball.
I mean, I think everybody who follows the sport knows what a legend Geno Auriemma is. And we all remember every UConn team that was dominant on the court, always more dominant than not for a Geno Auriemma coach team. And biggest takeaway from last night is the man was given a literal GOAT. So, that's anytime you're given an actual GOAT, I think, you're the GOAT. So
no, yeah, they literally had goats in the arena. They had goats figuratively with Maya Moore and Diana Taurasi also in the building for the game. I mean, this is a coach that in his tenure at UConn, 59 conference championships, 53 Final Fours, 11 national championships, and winning streaks, all-time winning streaks of 70, all-time winning streak of 90, all-time winning streak of 111 games in a row. Truly a GOAT in the sport of basketball. What a head coach. And with that being said, I want to dive into maybe some head coaches, particularly one head coach that may be on the hot seat in the NFL, Kevin Stefanski, head coach of the Cleveland Browns. Gentlemen, the last 6 coaches that have been fired by Cleveland came after losses to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of that. And the Cleveland Browns do play the Pittsburgh Steelers this evening on Thursday Night Football. June, is Kevin Stefanski two-time Coach of the Year winner on the hot seat currently?
I think with the direction that Cleveland is headed, it's hard to, ignore or kind of not entertain that conversation at least a little bit. I also think that Cleveland understands the position that they're in. They're familiar with this territory, and you just mentioned, Kevin Stefanski is a former Coach of the Year, winner, and this guy turned this team around, this franchise around, and what we saw him, be able to do with Baker Mayfield and DTR, Jameis Winston, uh, and a bunch of other guys that kind of just been in that QB carousel since this Deshaun Watson situation has taken place. You got to give him a lot of credit. Now, what have you done for me lately, League? Browns ain't looking good. They got a game tonight. It's going to be a real tough one versus Steelers. I don't think that with their position, with their quarterback position, which is a franchise decision, this wasn't just a Kevin Stefanski decision. I think that they kind of crippled him. So I don't think it's that fair to, put all the blame pie in his plate, and then kind of just, hang his job over his head. I think that one for sure he should finish the season. I know that they play the Steelers tonight, you mentioned, and if this is the first time they play the Steelers, hopefully they don't play them week 18, because then he might get fired after that Steelers loss. But I think you hold on to Kevin Stefanski, because the Browns, if they didn't learn a lesson with Baker Mayfield and not letting a good thing go too soon, they might learn it with Kevin Stefanski if they let him go. He's a great coach, and they're having a tough year in an amazing division. I don't think that you change the coach and next year everything kind of just goes away. So, Kev, what do you kind of think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, going into the season, looking at their receivers, um, obviously the Chubb injury affected that team, who was a run heavy team, regardless of Deshaun Watson being on the field or not. They loved to run the ball. And why wouldn't you when you've got a top three running back in the league and Nick Chubb at the time before the injury? Obviously, his second major knee injury, he's not coming back to be the Nick Chubb of old. If he does, then, which I hope he does, and wish he would, because he was always just a joy to watch. But it's unrealistic to expect that from a guy who's undergone two serious knee injuries within the last five to I'm not sure exactly the time frame, but 6 years maybe. So that to me was the biggest loss and the biggest story of this season. I know they spent most of last season without him as well, and obviously Stefanski won his second Coach of the Year award. His first one came his first season with the Browns when Baker took them and led Baker Mayfield to a playoff victory, even for Cleveland, which nobody was expecting. So Stefanski to me has done a good job this year with, like I said, the Nick Chubb, not having a solidified running back in a run game there, and then also just Deshaun Watson just being so underwhelming. And it sucks to see, because you look at his talent and what he had pre anything. I mean, he was an all pro quarterback. He was a national champion in college football. And it was Dabo Sweeney referred to him as the Michael Jordan of football. And it didn't seem outrageous. Now it seems absolutely outrageous, but the way he was able to stay cool and take his teams down the field in fourth quarter situations the way he did, not only at Clemson, but his first few years in Houston. I mean, he looked every bit of a franchise quarterback. And Cleveland obviously goes for broke for him, banking on the fact that they'd get the all pro Deshaun Watson and not the one who's been on the field. And it backfires. But when you're a team like Cleveland and you've been out of it for so long, those are the moves that you tend to make. You look at the Jets trading for Aaron Rodgers, like it's that same sort of parallel where you're going for a quarterback thinking that you can fix all your issues with that one position, and sometimes it does, like with Brady and Peyton Manning in Tampa Bay and Denver, but it's not always going to be the case. So I think Stefanski this year was dealt a difficult hand. You see what he did last year with Deshaun Watson, uh, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, then PJ Walker starting an XFL quarterback, then Joe Flacco coming off the couch, and then Jeff Driscoll started the last game of the year. But uh, for him to get into the playoffs with those starting quarterbacks all year is, I think commendable. And I think at least he should be given one more year to see it out. The only fear is that Andrew Barry's probably on his way out after the whole mess with the Deshaun Watson contract, and a GM will normally like their own head coach. So should he be on the way out? No, but I think the odds are that he it more likely is than they're not.
Yeah, and just one last thing on Stefanski and the Browns as far as where they're at organizationally. Again, I mentioned giving up on, a good thing too soon, like Baker Mayfield, and then going after, fool's gold with Deshaun Watson. It puts your coach in a, again, hands behind the back situation. Now, for Stefanski, this might be a blessing in disguise. You know what I'm saying? Because I could see Kevin Stefanski going to one of these other maybe 5 or 6 teams that are about to fire their head coach, and he can go on to win Coach of the Year next year again, and have another great opportunity, whether that be somewhere where he's going to be rebuilding and helping start, the new career of a Shador Sanders in New England or whatever the case is, or wherever. And so I just think that for Stefanski, he's put in a tough spot because they traded Amari Cooper this year, right? They clearly don't want to win big. They know that they're not talented enough to win big, but at the same time, they're stuck in purgatory. They have too much money tied up. They don't have a lot of draft capital. And so, like I said, I think for Stefanski, get out of the kitchen while it's hot and go find something else to mess with.
As I mentioned, Thursday Night Football this evening, Steelers at Browns, Pittsburgh 3.5-point favorites on the road in Cleveland, holding that number one spot in the AFC North. A win tonight, Kevin, cements 18 straight winning seasons for Mike Tomlin. Steelers kind of a sleeper team right now. Should Mike Tomlin be a front runner in the Coach of the Year conversation, Kev?
So I believe it's 18 non-losing seasons, because I do think there were some 8-8 seasons in there. But regardless,
fair.
Super impressive. The fact that he's been coaching that long and has not had a losing team, won a Super Bowl, done just about everything in the league that you can do as a head coach. I don't think, except for winning Coach of the Year. So definitely should be a front runner. We had going into the season with Justin Fields, Russell Wilson. What do you do there? Russell gets hurt, makes it a little bit easier, but then Russell gets healthy, so it makes it a little bit more difficult. And I think he's managed that great. Not that Russell Wilson has been great, but he's been good enough to get them wins. And so I think he's definitely up there. I think Jim Harbaugh deserves some recognition as Coach of the Year. I think Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota definitely deserves some recognition with the Sam Darnold and situation at quarterback and the JJ McCarthy going down early. But I also think, and this probably is not going to be a popular opinion, and it probably won't he probably won't get any votes. No, well, listen, you look at Patrick Mahomes' numbers, and
I thought you were going somewhere else with this.
I did too. I did too.
Who do you think? Robert Saleh, because they've won 5 since they fired him?
I don't know how I thought you were gonna flip that somewhere. I'm ready for this.
I mean, listen, now that you said it, it makes sense. But yeah, no, I think Andy Reid Patrick Mahomes has been like so subpar when you look at his numbers. Yeah. And that team has just been rolling, and I think that's attributed to a lot of it is attributed to Andy Reid and the defense. The defense has been great, but Andy Reid just
Steve Spagnuolo, because he's even allowed to call timeouts this year. But
and Spags we trust
in a similar situation in Minnesota, like Brian Flores deserves credit for that, what that defense 100%. Is doing as well.
And just to piggyback real quick off of your point for the candidates, I do agree that Mike Tomlin should sit at the top, because what he did with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields and how he handled that situation, the quotes he's given us, right? Like, this is why
we thought it wasn't going to work. We thought it wasn't going to work.
Yeah, and it's absolutely going to. I don't know if this was planned, but it's going the right way for them. Now with Kevin O'Connell, as much as I respect him as a coach, I think he's an amazing coach. I think it's easier to go from rookie uncertain player to the vet who was the number 2 pick and still has some sort of potential. And not to say it's easy or anything like that, but it's not like he went from Sam Darnold to now he has to implement the number 1 pick of the draft, or their number 1 pick of their draft. I don't want to take too much away from Kevin O'Connell, but just if I had to nitpick, the versus Tomlin thing, and then Jim Harbaugh, yeah, hell of a fucking
that's my front runner right there. That's my
and
front
so
runner.
I would like Tomlin just the recognition. I mean, 18 straight years, you don't go with the losing season. You came in with all these surrounding noises, and you're in the toughest division, arguably in the league. You might win it. So like that stands for a lot too. The Chargers, though, shout out to them. They got the Ravens this week coming up. That's gonna be a hell of a game.
Also, speaking of the coach of the year, really quick, I just looked quickly from 2000 on. We were talking about Stefanski, and he's on the hot seat a year after winning coach of the year. And the only other coach who wasn't with their team the next season was actually Bruce Arians, which was a different situation with Chuck Pagano. But the only other coach that was fired the year after winning coach of the year is Mike Vrabel, who is currently a consultant with the Cleveland Browns. So I thought that was interesting, which was
that's a little messy.
Yeah.
Hey man, this Jim Harbaugh team to me, it looks like that scene in Coach Carter where Samuel's like, "Y'all tired?" Like, nah, and they pan to the other team's like sweating because they are grinding you out quarters 1, 2, 3 just to hope that with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, they will be the more, the team with more stamina, the team that's been conditioned better for the moment, and it's proven so. They're winning, and it's working for them over in LA. Tomlin has actually, interestingly enough, never won Coach of the Year in the last 18 seasons, which is kind of very.
Neither have Coach Spoelstra. Hey, fucking, I get it. I get it.
Hey, would you say? I love that you mentioned that, June. Would you say it's kind of a situational, like a happens of circumstance where it's like, we expect you to win, so I don't think we're gonna give you Coach of the Year.
I'll say this again. I think it's complete bullshit that neither Coach Spoelstra or Mike Tomlin have won a Coach of the Year award. Have some fucking recognition if you're a commissioner of a league, and have some sort of direction about what a fucking coach looks like and what happens when you don't have the best roster on paper, but you have a guy that can lead a group of guys, i.e. Jim Harbaugh, and what he's doing with this same team they had last year, basically. It's night and day. It's night and day. So yeah, I absolutely think it's bullshit. That come on, that's funny. That's funny game right there. So, and I'm glad you asked me that, because it's crazy. It's crazy that you think that Miami Heat team goes to the finals 2 times in the last 10 years without Coach Spoelstra. Get out of here. You think that this Ravens team, or excuse me, this Steelers team competes the way they do with Kenny Pickett, with Mason? Go ahead.
They gave him the fake co-coach of the year with D'Antoni in 2017.
Don't ever put me next to nobody.
Kev, do you think that the winning that each of these coaches has done? Let's just add Andy Reid in there. Andy Reid, Mike Tomlin, Coach Spoelstra, adds to the fact that the expectation is for you to be essentially a Coach of the Year. So we're not going to give you the recognition of it.
At some point, yes, but also that wasn't the expectation when you first took over. So Andy Reid does have a Coach of the Year with Philadelphia, but like Spoelstra was not supposed to. Like, I think the knock on Spoelstra is he got LeBron and Wade and Bosh so early in his career, but you look at what Bosh has done elsewhere. LeBron has done elsewhere. Where has he won back-to-back championships? Where else has he won multiple championships? Nowhere. So this is the one place and the least amount of time he spent in his whole career. So, and he's got more championships here than he's got anywhere else. And I think that's a testament to Spoelstra. Look what he did with Bosh, having him step out. I could talk about this all day, and we're on football, so I'll digress. but yeah.
Oh my God! I mentioned earlier we'll get to the Thursday night game right now. Pittsburgh 3.5 point favorites on the road. Vegas saying they are 6.5 points better than Cleveland. Jameis Winston referred to this game as premier football, the definition of cold weather football game, saying seeing the blood, sweat, and tears that happen in these games are hard nosed and hard fought. June, can you see Cleveland covering that 3.5 at home?
So Tomlin has a bad record against Cleveland on Thursday night.
Oh, I didn't know that. I
think
he's
like it's along the 1-7 or so. However, it's a different year. The circumstances are so night and day from what we've seen in years past. Jameis Winston, I love you, bro. As who you are, as how you carry yourself as a man. You know, the image you portray yourself to be, and the teammate you seem to be. You're great. But T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith have something, bro. They got something coming for you, bro. And when you traded your number one receiver away, to me, you're telling your offense, figure it out. And this is the wrong team to try to figure that out against. Joey Porter Jr. is becoming one of the premier lockdown number one corners in this league. Obviously, Minkah Fitzpatrick back there holding it down in the back end. And the offense, like some nights, some weeks, that offense clicks. They're never going to be the 30, 35 point, 30 points every week offense. However, Russell Wilson can lead them down the field. You see George Pickens able to make a lot of plays. And so tonight, I think that defense forces multiple turnovers and their offense plays sound football. I don't think Cleveland is going to cover plus 3.5. I do see this as a at least 7-point game.
Kev?
Every week I try to look on the schedule and look at a line that just doesn't make a lot of sense. And this one just doesn't make a lot of sense. Like last week when I looked at college football, Kansas, why is Kansas only a 3-point underdog against 9-0 BYU? It's a similar situation here. Like, why is Cleveland only a 3.5-point underdog against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have looked every bit of a contender as they should this year? And Cleveland has looked the polar opposite. So you would think a game like tonight is like more like a 6.5-point spread. 3.5 makes me think that the Browns are going to stick in it, and it's crazy just basing that off of a spread. But that's usually what you see. Like Vegas usually knows best, and that's why they always win. So this seems like a line that Vegas wants you to take, that Steelers minus 3.5, because it should be Steelers double-digit win. But I do think, just based on that line, Cleveland, there's something there for the Browns to maybe not pull off the upset, but at least keep it close.
I'm upset that you brought up that Kansas and BYU game, because I definitely lost money. Unbeknownst to you, obviously, I definitely lost money on that game.
I'm sure a lot of people lost money on that game.
BYU money line, bro. You know what's crazy? I'm not staying up to watch a BYU game. I say, you know what? I'm gonna just go to sleep. I woke up and them niggas had a yard sale overnight, bro. It was crazy.
Kansas is ruining seasons at this point.
Kansas has played every team close all season, but to be 3-point underdogs against the 9-0 team and you're 3-6 told me everything I needed to know. I bet the plus 3.5, and then I took a sprinkle on the Kansas money line, so I did well.
I should have texted you for real, man. We gotta put Kevin in the chat for real. Yeah, you heard?
Hey, we gotta get Kevin in that chat.
I want to kick it over to the chat real quick. Ray Cam in there. What up, Ray? Jay in there. What up, Jay? Jay and Kev, both Jets fans, and
Ray, you already know what it is. Jay, sending my love, my boy.
Feel me.
Jets fans need all the love we can get right now. It's hard out here.
I forgot.
Hey, Dallas has taken over this the airways in the last couple of days, so people ain't really been talking about the Jets. But let's get it back.
What's the difference?
Jerry's World is the difference. Stadium's very nice. I've been there. Listen, Bills on a bye week after getting the defending Super Bowl champions at home and beating them on the bye week this week. We talked about them a couple weeks ago, June. I asked you, they're a little bit of a sleeper team. No one's talking about them. What's going on? Bye week this week. to receive the defending NFC champions and San Francisco 49ers in Orchard Park on December 1st, Sunday night football. June, are the Bills the team to beat now after dethroning, I guess, in a sense, the undefeated Kansas City Chiefs?
Let's go Highmark Stadium,
My fault.
2024 in
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah, you're right. You're
Let's
right.
go and real quick, the Jets and the Cowboys, big difference, Kev. They lose by 20 at home. That point differential is crazy. You guys lose by game-winning field goals, and Anthony Richardson led game-winning touchdown drives. It's close.
June, did he just say something nice about the
games.
Jets? That's crazy.
It's
close.
You compete.
It's close games. You know, they try a little bit. The Cowboys.
We're better at figuring out ways to lose late.
Yeah.
They don't even have to worry about that.
The tank job is in. It's you guys looking good about it. Anyways, dethroning, putting one on the record, whatever you want to call it. The Bills did that, and the Bills are one of the best teams in the NFL. They are led by probably the MVP favorite right now. And, after that matchup, after that moment, after, seeing what he's been able to do for the last 10, 11 weeks over the season with the offense he has and weapons or lack thereof he has around him or had now that they added Amari Cooper to the fold. I still don't think the Bills are the team to beat. I don't. And as much as I want to say this, is funny, my uncle and I had a conversation. My uncle's a Chiefs fan, by the way. And so he was tight. He's like, yo, why they talking on Get Up this morning like the Bills? Like, oh, the Bills, you got to beat the Bills now. Everybody got the, like, I don't know, because they beat the Chiefs one game, like, on the road. I'm like
4-1, 4 out of 5.
Or at home. I was like, no, but this season, you know what I mean? And so all that 4 out of 5 shit, all that Burrowhead Stadium, all that, they beat Joe Burrow none of that shit matters. None of it matters, because the team to beat is the team to me that has won recently, that has proven to be the best in the playoffs recently. And I still think the Chiefs have shown and are going to continue to show that until you can beat them in Arrowhead at home, in their house, and now at this point, they're going to have to go on the road if it's a Bills-Chiefs matchup. That defense and that quarterback should give you enough sense of security to feel like, you know what, my money's cool over here. Right. And so it's not even necessarily so much on the Bills as to why I would say they're not the team to beat, because, again, I think Josh Allen is having an MVP season. I believe that what they've been able to do in the run game and defensively has been outstanding. But did they do anything exceptional versus the Chiefs that kind of put it over the top for me? I don't think so. I think they went in there, saw what the Chiefs are weak at right now, took advantage of the matchups, and won a game. Now, I'm not copping out for the Chiefs. They won that game. It was fair and square. And I think right now the Bills are a better team than the Chiefs. I do. Two things can be true in my opinion. The Bills are the better team right now. They're hotter. They're healthier. However, it's going to come down to a certain moment in time. And that's going to be a Sunday in late December, early January. And if you could beat that team, then you could beat them. But I still think that team to beat is Kansas City.
Kev, how you feel about that?
That was well delivered. No, I like that.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I think that was like spot
You
on.
asking a Jets fan?
I mean, all right. Last time we were in the playoffs, we beat the Colts.
Jesus. And I almost forgot about that time because that was high school. But I was saying, screw the Bills. You're gonna go with the Chiefs.
Oh yeah, no,
it's sensitive up here. It's real tender up in New York right now.
Listen, it's hard times. This might be the hardest time ever in the history of me being a Jets fan because of the expectations. There's never been expectations before this year. But anyways, what the fuck were we talking about? I don't even remember. Like June said, you got to beat them in December, January. That's when it matters. That's when you haven't been able to get it done. You've beaten them in the regular season before. you got to beat them in the playoffs. So far, there's only one team or one active quarterback who's been able to do that, and he doesn't look like he's even going to be in the playoffs this year. Word to E, because he's called that since before the season. But I know he's happy about that one. But yeah, so
I'm so convinced E has Bengals toilet paper. It's at that point.
Hey, I think after this season, I think I'm gonna let the Burrowhead comments, it's like slide away, things like that. I think the hate is
they paid
is
their dues
beneath
with
me.
this season.
Jeez, find a new team to pick up.
It's gonna be the Bills.
Hey, by the way, y'all, at 4-7, with Miami at 4-6 and Indy at 5-6, they're looming just outside of that 7th seed in the AFC. And I do think it is too far gone. I do. But we still got 7 weeks or so left in this.
I will say, if they win, I mean, if they do end up in the playoffs, Joe Burrow's the MVP.
I feel that. 100%.
We can stop talking
100%.
about MVP talk,
100%.
His numbers would suggest,
those numbers are
if
crazy.
you look at his numbers, throw records out, he's the MVP. If that team ends up making it to the playoffs, it's because of him, and he's the MVP. And Jamar Chase, I mean, I know he wishes he played Baltimore every week, because my God, maybe not because they keep losing against them, but his numbers are insane against them.
Yeah.
But Kev, Bills team to beat.
Chiefs, still the Chiefs.
Still the Chiefs. Let's take it over to the NFC, where after dropping 2 straight, the Vikings have rang off 3 straight. And after beating Jacksonville in London, the Bears have dropped 4 straight. We have Minnesota 8-2 on the road in Chicago against the 4-6 Bears, as once again a 3.5 point road favorite. June, we talked the pregame. We talked earlier in the show. You're giving Kevin O'Connell his props. Hell of a coach. Now, are the Vikings jokers or are they for real?
No, I think the Vikings are for real. Minnesota's, I mentioned one of the toughest divisions in the league being the I was talking about the AFC North. But the NFC North is arguably the toughest division in the league. And, the Lions are the cream of the crop right now. The Lions are the cream of the crop in the NFC. The second place team in that division is going to go to the playoffs. And even that third place team in that division is probably going to go to the playoffs. I think that they are still contenders. I do want to point that out. I do still think they're contenders. I haven't looked at the rest of their schedule to kind of see where things might go or trend this season.
I can give you that if you want it.
Yeah,
Pause.
Yeah. Give me a second. Thank you. Pause. But what they've done on defense, to me, is enough to kind of say that yes, they're contenders, because they've caused havoc on the league's best offenses and quarterbacks specifically. And I think that I'd be a fool if I say that this team can't compete with the better teams in the league. I mean, what's the best way to stop a great offense? Have a great defense. They have that. And they also have the best player offensively in the league on their team. So there should always be a chance for them. Sam Darnold, he kind of hit a wall. He struggled against the Rams on that Sunday night game. Then he struggled against the Colts. They didn't really play too well. I guess they can thank God Shane Steichen and Jim Irsay are running the fucking Colts right now. Probably would have lost that game. But they ended up winning that game. And so we see they do have some trouble. There's some struggles. But outside of Detroit and what looks to be Philly right now, because Philly has found their stride, I think, outside of them two, I mean, there's a list of teams with a list of problems and things that they got to figure out. Green Bay is the next team in their division, and they're the next team in the NFC that's, at the top. And we don't know if Jordan Love's going to throw a pick or throw a touchdown on the next play. So, to me, with the way things look after the best 2 teams in the NFC are talked about, yeah, I think that the Vikings for sure can find a way to contend for a Super Bowl this year.
With the Vikings at 8-2, it's so interesting in these NFL playoffs because with the Vikings at 8-2, if the playoffs were to start today, they would be on the road because both Arizona and Atlanta
Yeah,
are leading their
yeah.
divisions respectively.
I
Now,
looked at that today.
Kev, Vikings being 3.5-point favorites on the road. We always say home team gets 3 points. Vegas is saying Vikings are 6.5-point favorites, going through that key number of 6, especially in a divisional game. Is that too many points for this divisional matchup, Kev?
I think that's a number that you get when Sam Darnold is the quarterback and can potentially. I mean, but like he just makes some bad throws sometimes, and against this defense, can't do that. And so I think that's where the number comes in. I do think the Vikings are good enough though to uh, kind of counteract that with their defense. So I do think the Vikings can get this one done, but it leans towards, like I said before, one of those lines that just doesn't make a lot of sense. You would expect the Vikings, based on their record, to be favored a little bit more than 3.5 points. But best receiver in the league, in my opinion. They've got Aaron Jones now in the backfield, uh, and if Sam Darnold can go on a Mark Sanchez like run in the playoffs, like you got a chance. Like if your quarterback can, if you can run the ball and play defense, then your quarterback can just limit mistakes. That's winning football when it comes December and January. So I think there's a possibility. Yeah, there's a possibility. Don't think that's the outcome though. But
I was gonna say I think it's with a coach of the year candidate and as good of a coach as Kevin O'Connell is, if you can limit those mistakes as the quarterback, the world is yours because we've seen it many a time where a defense can really hold it down. It's week by week in the playoffs. Once you get there, everybody's 0-0, and mistakes are gonna be like the end of your season. And if you can get stops, this is what the focus is. So yeah, just to I guess say it again, Minnesota to me is a contender. But even specifically to this week, if I can chime in real quick, Kev, I think it's a bit close as far as the line and the matchup predictor because this is a desperate Bears team. Now, this Bears team probably knows that they're not going to make the playoffs. You know what I mean? However, they're not going to quit. They're not going to bottom out. They want to put their best foot forward and effort forward for the setup and ascension for Caleb Williams, right? This has to be a continuation of success. This can't be, oh, well, like the Giants, kind of fuck this season. We're going to make our quarterback 1, quarterback 4, and have him start in safety on practice squad next week. Like, okay, clearly we know what's going on over there.
It's an expensive scout right there.
Sanders. But with Chicago, it's like, all right, we could have 2 wins and we could win 1 more game for the rest of the season, but we better try every fucking week to make it work and clear out all the things we need to, figure out so that what's here to stay is here to stay and what's gone needs to be out the door, end of the season.
Matt Eberflus.
Not too loud, not too loud.
Matt Eberflus. Oh man, hey, we talked about it on the last pod. He's gonna go. Caleb Williams will have 3 offensive coordinators in his first 2 years, 2 head coaches. Is exactly what everyone told the Chicago Bears to not do. But hey, listen,
it's what they just did with Justin Fields, and it's like, what are you not understanding about this that doesn't work?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's.
Do we bring in Cliff Kingsbury? Is that what's going on next year? Does Cliff Kingsbury come out and head coach again?
I mean, there was talk of when he interviewed with Washington that the possibility of them looking to trade up for Caleb Williams. I don't know if there was any validity to that, but because he coached him at USC, so I mean, it could be, but like still doesn't make it any better. Like regardless of who.
No, of course.
Terrible look.
But at the end of the day, it's inevitable. It's going to happen. You would just hope your next move is your best move in this case.
I mentioned the playoff picture, and I mentioned, if, and June knows my, one of my favorite quotes. If was the 5th, we would all be a party. You know what I mean? But June, I mentioned a couple of those division leaders that are barely over 500 that would be hosting home playoff games. Other teams that are solidified, up there in the AFC, in the NFC as well. Who would you say? Let's take it to the NFC first, where you have, like I was saying, Arizona, Atlanta. I'm going to scratch Minnesota off of there at 8-2. Arizona, Atlanta, Green Bay, Washington would all be in the playoffs if they started today. Which one of those four teams in the NFC do you consider to be jokers that will not make the playoffs?
So I think it's a bit unfair, the question, and I'll explain why. Because I don't want to. I think it's Atlanta. However, I think Atlanta is going to win their division kind of by default. Like, that's why I say it's unfair. I also believe Arizona can really win this division and might, but I think it's a little more far fetched. So I'm going to go Arizona. However, to me, there's still a way that Arizona finds a way in a playoff, regardless if they win the division or come in second place. Because the real jokers that I was prepared to answer this question with are the 49ers and the Seahawks. That's the jokers in my opinion. And so right now, as it stands, obviously Arizona winning the West right now, and Atlanta winning their division. That leaves Washington, Green Bay, Minnesota as those second, place, third place teams in their respective divisions. And then right outside of that, for like the 8, 9, 10 spots, is the Rams, Seahawks, basically the NFC West. Rams, Seahawks, the rest of the West. Rams, Seahawks, and 49ers at 5-5. And the Rams are trending a little upward. They're kind of, not like super up, but they're trending a little upward. We see defensive rookie of the week twice now. Cameron Kitchen, shout out to him, putting on for the U. But Seattle has been a bit underwhelming. New coach McDaniel. They just had a nice win in the Bay, stealing a late game situation versus the 49ers. And those 49ers, bro, I got nothing nice to say about them. I was a Brock Purdy, I was chanting his name and I was saying,
"Come on, man, Brock 30, bro."
Hey, man, right now, Kyle Shanahan, shit.
Oh man, hey, you mentioned the Niners being jokers, and I'm glad you mentioned that because I think almost every week, if not every other pod, we talk about some players that have chosen to be player/media personnel on their own podcast. Debo on a podcast this week saying this is the most frustrating season of his career. Kev, has Debo checked out for the rest of the season? Especially, I'm asking based on the actions that he had last week as far as mushing his place kicker and all these things, then coming out and saying, hey, this is the most frustrating season of my career. The Niners, Junior saying they're jokers. Now, has Debo checked out, Kev?
I mean, I hope not. You already lost Ayuk for the season. You're a game behind the Cardinals, and you play them in Week 18. So you would hope you're still locked in because that could very well be a game that you're playing for the division at that point in the season. Arizona beat them earlier this year, so they own the tiebreaker right now. But you're playing them in the last game of the regular season, where the entire division, your entire season could be up for grabs. So you would hope he's not checked out. Like, you would hope he's there. Juwan Jennings has stepped up big since Ayuk went down. So the guys are still locked in. I mean, I honestly think Jordan Mason at this point might be a better option at running back than Christian McCaffrey, which is crazy to say.
Such a tough position to put your coach in, right?
100%, but
that's why you get paid the big bucks, right?
Yeah.
Tomlin will do it. Tomlin would do it.
And running back is a much easier position to do that with. It's a lot easier to split your back snaps than it is. You can't split your quarterback snaps. It's the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, you're not playing a 2 quarterback system here. Even though Justin Fields did come in for a crucial third down or second down.
Georgia Tech beat Miami, right? But
yeah. God damn it.
Right. Right.
But But yeah, so
Uh,
so that's yeah, that's I do think Atlanta wins that division because that division is not good and they
because who
already
else gonna win that
well
shit?
if they hadn't beat Tampa Bay twice already, I'd say maybe Tampa Bay with Mike Evans coming back, but
Oh,
they've
I wanted
already
to.
got
The Bake
the
Show. Come on,
an
man.
Yeah,
extra
shout out to them. But yeah, it's Chris Godwin going down, Mike Evans, being hurt. What sucks is Mike Tomlin has a chance to again go for 18th straight seasons with a non-losing record. Shout out to Mike Tomlin. Mike Evans, 1,000-yard season is
Jeopardy.
on the line, and they're saying for the
Yo,
next
we
seven
talked about
games,
that line too. We talked about that line before the
they're
season
saying for
started.
the next 7 games he needs 695 yards or so. Uh,
I think the
so
line was like 10-20 on the. It was like 10-19 on the season, if I'm not
tough,
mistaken.
man. It's tough. So, and it would suck to see just because of who Mike Evans is as a competitor, and who he is when he's on the field. So for like an injury that he never really suffers big injuries, for an injury to be something to take him out the game like a hamstring is like fuck, man. But in a healthy year, Mike Evans is putting up 1,000 yards, no question. So shout out to them boys.
Let's take it over to the NBA. A lot of NFL this weekend, and we will definitely enjoy that, including, hey, maybe the Chiefs run up the score on Carolina. Maybe Indy pulls off the upset against Detroit. Who knows?
Ooh, but
But
Lamar Jackson better not lose to the motherfucking Chargers on Sunday Night Football, or they on his ass. I swear.
hey, if he loses, it's safe to say MVP talk. But
let real quick. I hate to cut you off during your transitions because that was great, and I want to acknowledge that. But it's two weeks. You know what I mean? Like we still got another 5 after that. Lamar Jackson go light it up and fucking do some shit we never seen before. I don't want to hear it. Kind of.
And Buffalo's schedule also isn't
gets
the
tough.
easiest.
It's
so
tough.
I think those are the top two guys right now. Is Lamar and Allen.
It's definitely Lamar's trophy to lose at this point in the season. Let's kick it over to the NBA, specifically to the brotherly love city of Philadelphia, where there is not much love being shown to their star player in Joel Embiid, being called out in a players only meeting by Tyrese Maxey as far as being late to everything. I like to, we don't know what the specifics are, but he's late to everything. We already know about the not playing back to backs, although he says he was trolling when he said that. But he said he's not playing back to backs. We've seen the footage this year. He's looking real word design lackadaisical. Not boxing out, not showing any effort, not getting back on defense. Kev, what is going on with the 2 and whatever how many losses the Philadelphia 76ers have?
They're not a good basketball team. Like somebody said it in the offseason. I wish I could remember who, but they said like, how many times is Paul George going to be traded? Or how many times is Paul George going to be signed by the winner of the offseason to like for this to happen? Like it just doesn't correlate to winning. And now you're looking at a Paul George who has gotten even later into his career, and it didn't fix anything. I think it hurt you more than anything because now you're taking the ball out of Maxey's hands more, and Paul George just hasn't looked great this season, even when Embiid's off the court. And now you throw into the fact that Embiid's coming back, and now how do they figure out that mix of talent between Maxey, Paul George, and Embiid? And then Maxey goes out, and they just can't seem to stay healthy and get the three of them on the court together at the same time. So I think that's a big part of the chemistry not being there early on. And at this point, you're kind of running out of time. You're also need at this point to either make the playoffs or make sure that you have a top 6 pick in the draft, because if your pick is outside of top 6, it goes to the Thunder. So that is Sam Presti doing what Sam Presti does again, but the 76ers are in a lot of trouble. Just doesn't seem like they enjoy playing with each other this year. It's crazy because when Maxi first came in and was having big games, him and Embiid were always side by side, especially at press conferences. And you could tell that they were enjoying playing with each other. And now it's just that joy is completely gone. Don't know what it is that's causing it, but like you said, Embiid is not looking uh he's not looking involved. Julian, I think, has a question.
Yeah, June wants to.
I got an answer.
June wants the popcorn read. Popcorn June.
Oh, I mean, Kev, look, and I respect everything you said, so I don't want to discredit anything, but I do have the answer. I know what's going on. I mean, and two, the main thing I heard was health and hurt. I mean, they can't stay healthy, and they that's the name of the game for Joel Embiid and Paul George. And so, being a little more serious, Joel Embiid was called out in that team meeting by Tyrese Maxey for being late to quote unquote everything. I'm sure that's going to take the joy out of playing with somebody who is the superstar on your team, but doesn't treat work as if it's the most serious thing on his agenda. And I don't know Joel Embiid personally. I've never been in an NBA locker room. I don't know how that works, but I'm nobody different than anyone else that it's common sense to that can say, well, when the example is not setting the example, and you're expected to do, you're expected to play good and play up to this standard, but the guy that is supposed to play up to a higher standard is showing you that it's like, it's whatever to him. That would probably kill your joy every single time, especially when it's a coworker of yours. Because when it's a friend of yours, when it's a brother, when it's a, that's like, I mean, fuck it, it's your life, right? But what you're doing is affecting me. We have a common goal here, and I'm showing up on time. I'm holding my half, and now I got to pull your half. And now I'm hurt, and I can't even pull your half. Now Paul George is hurt for the second time this season with the same injury. It's a zesty twerk of the left knee. Let me stop. But it's this hyper and those two pictures are crazy, bro. But the hyperextension of the knee is one of those injuries that this is not a long-term injury, but this is an injury that it has happened twice now. Paul George is about 33 years old, 34 years old, whatever the case. They signed him to a max. Tyrese Maxey is on a max. Joel Embiid is on a max.
Trust the process.
And they're at 2-11 right now. Or 2-12, 2-11. So like real quick,
12, yeah.
So
it's also just
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's not like Miami where it's like you're part of a winning culture and something bigger than yourself.
Not. This is what they do in Philly.
Well, I also was hoping you caught it. That was the Caleb Martin quote on why he signed with the Philadelphia 76ers.
That's funny. That's funny.
Was being part of that winning culture and something bigger than yourself is something that draws you in.
Right.
Get the fuck out of here,
I think Caleb Martin is going to have to be the guy with Kyle Lowry to try to instill some of this heat culture into that locker room, because Philadelphia right now, they're at a point, and half of that was serious, but they're at a point right now where they had to turn to each other. The only answer for them was within, right? And let me go and let me be the quote doctor here. Let me see if you recognize this one, Kev. I've been in the dark. Sometimes you gotta
Aaron Rodgers.
How's it go? Sometimes you gotta look it in the eye. Whatever the fuck you said. It's all hoopla.
And drink ayahuasca.
My thing is the Sixers had to turn inside to look at each other and say, this is what needs to be done to figure this out, right? On Paul George's podcast, which I don't know why he's recording. He's another guy like Michael Parsons, another guy with his podcast that during the season at the worst point of his career, he's literally talking to Reggie Jackson and his two co-hosts about what's going on. And so he explained that he doesn't know who leaked this information. Joel Embiid said they're a piece of shit, whoever did it. And they also said that the people that are in the trenches with them are the people that were in the room. They knew exactly who was in the room. So clearly they got a leak. That's their problem. But the bigger problem is that you're dealing with superstars and you're not getting wins. You have a great coach, you're not getting wins. To me, Kev, you mentioned it because I forgot. OKC has everybody's pick. When I played my franchise on 2K, I'm quickly reminded, like, oh shit, OKC's got the number 5 pick this year. They got the numbers, but I think Philly, before the end of it, we're gonna see them break this up. This isn't gonna be a long thing. I don't think that they can afford. If they don't turn it around by early January, and turn it around means get to that 500, at least a little over 500, then I think by the trade deadline we're going to see some major move from Philadelphia.
And if that's the case, I think Embiid would have to be the first domino to fall.
It has to because you can't trade Paul George, and you're not trading Maxey. You're not.
No, yeah. If you were to rebuild, it would be around Tyrese Maxey, and that would be the
it has to be.
So you'd have to, but it's not even that like you wouldn't try to move Paul George. I think they would, but they can't until
there's a market, right? Where's the market? Like,
who's taking him? Like, who's taking him? What are you getting? I mean, if you're getting some expiring but like, who wants him at that?
Yeah,
the contract's just starting this year. They can't even trade him until December 15th.
It's a bad contract. It's a bad contract. Well, obviously, speaking from the now perspective, I thought it was a great pickup for them in the summer. And another thing that has hurt them is the fact that they haven't been able to see the floor together. They need to look at what happened to Brooklyn and study that really closely, because
Phoenix
they can be the next Brooklyn, and Phoenix. They can be the next Brooklyn. They only played 16 games together, Harden, Kyrie, and Durant over 3 years. And you can't put your fans through that type of situation. And then as an organization, let's talk about Philadelphia real quick, because as long as I've been around and known Philadelphia, the only time they've been something was Allen Iverson. Because then it went to Evan Turner, Drew Holiday, and Iguodala, and those days were not fun for them. They then go to the trust the process era, where they draft Embiid and Ben Simmons. And I thought this was going to be one of the best teams in the league for a long time, when they had Marco Bellinelli, JJ Redick, and them boys around Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons turned into the worst player in the league.
Danny Green
has become Embiid has become one of the greatest, laziest, most injury-prone, like crybaby kind of guys in the league. And I think he is the root of their issues. And once Philadelphia removes Joel Embiid from their situation, they'll start to see some green grass flowing. But until then, I think that we're going to remain in this constant, it looks cute because he's great. He can score 35 a game. He's 7 feet. But we're dealing with bigger problems in the back end that it's not worth it. Y'all don't win a damn. And y'all dealing with this. So blow it up.
And and listen, I hear all the Heat fans, keep him away. Please.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, and Kev, there is a world. If you keep Bam and Tyler,
how do you get him then?
I don't know. I don't know. But if you keep Bam and Tyler, I do think Miami can change some of those ways mentally. However, what scares me is the injuries, and that you can't.
I was just going to say,
it's all,
and you're still back to Jimmy, Bam, and Tyler being your 3 best players in the postseason, because you can't count on.
I thought Jimmy was gone. My fault.
It's all fruit from the poisonous tree at that point.
Embiid said that's the best player in the league. He's not going anywhere.
I know.
Hey, let's take it up to Boston, man, where the Celtics have handed the Cavaliers their first loss of the season to a tune of 120-117. Oh, Tatum put George's name, we like to say belt to ass a lot. He put floor to ass and then said, get him the out of here, man. Get him out of here. Did Boston make a statement in this win, June?
100%. But Boston makes a statement every time they shoot 25 threes or make 25 threes. Like, when that team can do that, there's no beating them. However, they don't do that every night. And let me say this real quick. Jason Tatum, it was a great play. Was it a crossover? Nah. Was it a push-off? Yeah. But shout out to my boy Kyle on Twitter. He was like, look, bro, where I'm from, if you fall, you fell.
You fell, yeah. Facts.
And I'm like, that's a fact. Because everybody's still going to be screaming, talking shit. You got to pray to God that he missed a shot. And you got to pray to God that he missed a shot. Because
George's reaction was damn, slap the floor like, man.
I hate when something negative happens to an individual on the court and they're crying about it as the good part is happening. Like the other night, we saw a game winner from Julius Randle at the buzzer, Wolves versus Suns, and Devin Booker's crying for a push off, but he's doing like this, and it looks like he's celebrating the whole time. Like the ball's going in, and he's like, and it's like, you crying about a push off, bro. The ref ain't call it. Like, shut up. Shut up. You know? And so Niang should have just got up a little quicker because it looked a little crazy. But as far as the Celtics, man, yeah, I think that they're just proving that they're still the best team in the NBA team to beat right now. I know it hurts and it pains Kevin and I to even talk in this manner about that team. But I'll give credit when it's due. And I think that, you know, this is the second time the Boston Celtics have had that overwhelming shooting output. The first game was, you know, game 1 against the Knicks. And then last night, was that last night? That was last night, Wednesday night? Yeah. No, 2 nights ago, Tuesday
2 nights
night.
ago.
They had an amazing output versus the Cavs. Cavs are, you know, they have the best record, but it kind of goes back to the Chiefs Bills kind of thing where, yeah, you got the best record, but I mean, look what we just fucking did.
Impacting winning.
They still got KP coming back as well.
I don't even, like, you say it's they made a statement. I don't necessarily think they did. I think I expected them to win that game. I actually thought it was more of a statement by Cleveland that they were even in the game, because there was several times where Boston looked like they were about to pull away, and Cleveland on the road was able to get back into it and make it a 1-possession game at the end of the game and give themselves a chance to win it. So I took more from Cleveland, and even going into the night after last night, beating the brakes off of the Pelicans. I mean, it's the Pelicans,
but regardless, Pelicans. It was regardless. They had no starters in the game, Kev.
That's fine, but you go in and you win by 28 after a night where you could have mailed it in after a tough game the night before. So I think having those two performances back to back, one being a disappointing loss that obviously they wanted to win. I think if the Cavs won that game, it's more of a statement but made by them than Boston. Like, Boston should have won that game. I think as the defending champions, you've looked to depart all season as a team that has a chance to repeat.
And guess what? And they beat the best team in the league yesterday. So, like, I'm not saying they came out and had a fashion show, right? It was a close game. Now, at one point in that first half, if you took that first half, that's like statement of the year. Like, yeah, nobody's fucking with us, because they whooped the shit out of the Celtics in that first half. Or excuse me, the Cavs in that first half. Yeah. The Celtics let that lead go, and they ended up finalizing it. But to me, I think a statement is still made when you're the defending champs, defending your home court against the team to beat right now, and you win. And you embarrass them in the first half. Again, it's a game of runs. It's basketball. It's never over these days. But to beat that Cavs team or 2 nights ago, I think it says something about who the Celtics are. And, like, yeah, we're for real. We're for real. We can beat the best teams in the league.
But they just won a championship, so we know that. It's kind of like if the Bills were playing at Kansas City this past week and Kansas City won, it's like, all right, we expect it. But if the Bills go into Kansas City and win the game,
guess it's not as. I guess statement might be the wrong way to put it, but not even what, I don't want to take it there. I don't know if statement is the right way. To me, I feel like
I think they just handle business.
Statement. Because that's, to me, discrediting the Cavs, because it's like, should have won. I mean, I don't know. The Cavs undefeated. Nobody's beat them. Who should have beat them? So it's
not going to last all year. I think it was a perfect storm of them losing.
Of course. But I'm saying, though, it's not like this is a game they should have won. Like, I don't know. You know, Cavs playing fucking amazing basketball. We haven't seen it yet. So it's like everybody's expecting y'all to win. Everybody's expecting this. And you guys went and delivered. So I get it. And now I won't, drag it and say, like, yo, Celtics fucking, they're going back to the finals. Like, it ain't that. I get it. But let me ask you this, Kevin, before we get off basketball. Can this Cleveland Cavaliers team, healthy, versus a healthy Boston Celtics team, beat them in a 7-game series if they faced off in the playoffs this season again?
I don't think so.
Okay.
That and maybe that's
So,
why to me it's
right.
not as big of a win.
I think they can. I don't think they do. And I do see that possibly going to 7. Ultimately, Celtics probably beat them in a close 6.
What's crazy is we can get, I mean, potentially, uh, Cavs 1 seed, Heat 8 seed. I'm, I'm putting my money on the Heat.
Hey, I'll say this, bro. I'll say this: save the 8 seed and the 7 seed and the 9 and the 10 seed. Save the 7 and the 8 seed for the Sixers and the Bucks. All right, we'll do that.
Sixers.
Hey man, we're gonna take it back to the field. College football with these playoff rankings. 12 teams for the first time this year. The U, only team in the top 10, only team in the playoff bracket at this point, in the ACC for that matter. Now, June, you were saying Georgia, big mad earlier. How upset should Georgia be at this point in the season? And do they have anyone else but themselves to blame?
Exactly. And so I'm glad you went over that second part because I would believe they are mad as hell. But you should be mad at yourself before you mad at anybody because hey buddy, y'all lost some games now. Y'all lost some games now. And so I get your question, they're under Ole Miss, right? They're under Miami, they're under Penn State. And Penn State's most impressive win, I guess you could argue, is like USC, you know, uh, on the road. Miami's most impressive win is probably like, you know, who cares, because it
It's
was
probably
never a
Florida.
tough team. Yeah. Now look in retrospect, it's probably Florida, right? But very impressive as far as how we beat them and the style we beat them. And then you look at the third team I mentioned, Ole Miss, with an up and down season. But the blame has to be placed on Georgia themselves because Carson Beck could take a lot of the blame actually, because he single handedly turned that ball over far too many times to keep his team in the games. But Paul Feinbaum came out and ranted about Penn State's and Miami's and teams like that. And I get that Georgia, if you line them up against Penn State, if you line Georgia up against, Ole Miss probably again, you know what I mean? You probably get another outcome. Georgia probably wins that game. But you can't blame the committee and you can't blame those who vote on the polls for putting Georgia where they are. I think that they're a team that's good enough to climb out of the hole they've put themselves in, right? And still make the playoff and have to just grind through it. They're good enough to do that. But I don't think that they've represented themselves well enough up until this point to be ranked in the top 10. So, Kev, what do you feel about Georgia and where they're ranked? Do you like it, love it, hate it, do you agree with those outcries from guys like Feinbaum and in the Georgia community where they're upset at their ranking?
No, because why are we bitching about being put in the playoffs still? Like,
Mhm.
this is the reason it was expanded, was so that a Georgia who's lost to two teams and two good, like they've lost to two very good teams. Like,
Yep.
are you expecting to be ranked above those teams? So yeah, like I don't understand the issues. You still have a shot to even get into your conference championship game and then get a bye week. So if that's what you want, then there's a chance to do it still. Texas and Texas A&M are going to play each other, and we're going to find out after that what it's going to look like in the SEC. So Georgia still has a chance to play for the SEC championship game and get that first round bye if that's what they're upset about. I don't like you're not in that position at this moment, so I don't know how much higher you would expect to be ranked. But you're a 2-loss team. In any other year, you wouldn't be even in consideration for the college football playoff. So I'd say be thankful that there's they've expanded to 12 teams this year, and you're Georgia. Like if you think you're this good, that's the reason there's a playoff. Go win every game and win a national championship. And so
Yeah.
it's that
It's
simple. Really.
ironic as well that they lose this much in the first year of the college football playoff expansion.
It is. I think it is going to look more like that, though. Like we're going to see a lot more two-loss
More parity.
champions because, and not the conferences, the SEC and the Big Ten
Exactly, the realignment.
yeah, it's insane in those two conferences, the amount of talent that they're getting, and I'm just, if anybody should be upset, it should be Colorado for them having BYU ranked over them, but I guess they'll be able to hash that out on the field and
Colorado
lost.
You know, Colorado lost to Kansas State at home. That was an ugly loss. So
yeah, early season loss also though.
Yeah,
like, I think how you look later in the season matters versus how you
it
look
does.
early.
It does. And so, but Kansas is also a good team. Like Kansas' record doesn't necessarily reflect that, but Kansas is a good team, veteran quarterback, and we saw them beat Iowa State, knock them off of their undefeated season, knock off BYU now. So that loss to to Kansas from BYU isn't like a glaring like Georgia Tech. You know what I mean? Like Miami losing to Georgia Tech is kind of like, all right, brother, you got one more of these and it's over. And so you look at Colorado, the K-State loss wasn't too impressive. I mean, they ran the ball for fucking 700 yards on them. And I'm not gonna pick and choose which loss was worse ultimately, but I wouldn't say it's like unfair if you're Colorado, because at the end of the day, like Georgia, they're still playing with everything in front of them, and it's kind of, controlling their own destiny. If they went out, they're Big 12 champs. So, and they make the playoffs.
SMU being in the ACC is just very funny to me because they play in Dallas, and the closest coast to them is the Gulf Coast, not the Atlantic Coast. But
I mean, you want to talk about that? California is playing in the ACC. I really don't understand that one. That's why it took Miami so long to wake up against them.
June, how much respect do you have for this SMU team right now? It's first year in the ACC.
A lot. And shout out to Coach Lashley, one phenomenal coach. But his press conference explaining, or kind of just, I don't know whose goddamn dog is barking over there. That's just getting on my last nerve, but that's New York City anyways. But Rhett Lashley, he kind of stuck up for the conference, right? He mentioned that this ACC team, this ACC conference in general, has a lot of impressive wins, right? The losses that they have aren't crazy losses. And whatever, if you watched it, you watched it. I think he's been able to do a phenomenal job. One, SMU has gotten half of Miami's roster on their team, right? Shout out to Brashard Smith, who's just balling this year. And what we're seeing from them, I'll say, is just not surprising. I'm a little nervous to face them in the ACC championship. However, I do believe they haven't seen the defense that we have. And I know that we have been calling for Guidry. Some of us has called for Guidry's head, and our defense is this and that. When we've seen this defense play some fucked up football, but we've seen them tighten it up too and hold it down. And when they get in that bag, and when they don't want to just play man all game and they actually start playing some zone and start sending pressure and getting to the quarterback, it's a scary defense. So I don't think SMU has played, a Miami defense, or at least a defense with the athletes that Miami has. So I might be a little nervous or anxious, but that means that something good is on the horizon. That's all that means when you're a little anxious about something. And that good being, Miami's first ACC championship win in, I don't know, 75 years?
Ever is crazy. And
I think it would be their first ACC championship.
Yeah, because we was in the Big East when we were winning, right?
Yep.
Wow, that's fucking sad.
In other news, Chris Sale of the Atlanta Braves wins the NL Cy Young. Tariq Skubal, a white boy being named Tariq still blows me. Pause, but crazy.
With a K, with a K.
Yeah, with the K. Tariq Skubal of the Detroit Tigers wins the AL Cy Young for the MLB this year. Shouts out to them.
Hey man, look, those are just more accolades for former Red Sox, man. We got Cy Young winner, we got World Series, winner Mookie Betts, Kike Hernandez. You know what I'm saying? Like, shout out to my boys, man. And I guess I'll congratulate him early. Former World Series attendee Juan Soto, he's gonna start with the Red Sox, y'all boys. I'm just putting that out there right now. Kev, I know you have some takes where it's like, yo, we got to go find that clip, post it. I called it. Don't call me called it. I ain't doing all that. But just remember,
nah, he called it, and we gonna November 21st. We've been doing highlights as y'all see broadcast. We might have to do one of these for the highlight in a couple of weeks when he resigns.
Kev, you want to hear some funny shit? Chiefs.
I just did.
You just did?
Yeah.
I take that. we get no, that was good. I gotta let that sit. We get on the podcast earlier this week. We didn't get to do a fucking Sunday wrap up NFL show. We got to talk about the Chiefs on Monday. Motherfucking E Mike goes out. I'm like, yo, E, what do you think about the Chiefs? He's like, yeah, I said, all right, I guess. All right. Yo, E, in other news, did you have any thoughts about the loss last week? Because I don't know if you guys are going to lose.
And to be fair, June did say next episode that, I would talk about it. So, do it in January. We'll see you guys then. Patrick Mahomes say, hey, we'll see you in a couple weeks. So,
right.
do it when it matters. Last motherfuckers
also,
that
they said that the people who robbed Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes' house are linked to some cartel business, I believe. Some shady gang shit going down. So the NFL has put out a memo and saying guard your shit.
Hey, I'll be in Mexico in a couple of weeks. I'm not making any comments on that.
I just had to go back real quick. Congratulating former players of yours is crazy. So I would like to take the time to congratulate a current player of the Yankees who's going to win the MVP. Shout out to Aaron Judge. Okay.
And now June has to, June you can't end on Yankees. So now June.
Well, I don't know. Do you have something else, EP? Or you got any other news?
Yeah. I believe that we got Duke in Arizona tonight. Should be a good game.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be tapped into that 100%. Oh, shout out to the Bake Show. Shout out to the Bake Show. Space Coast High School in, I think, Cocoa Beach, Florida, was short uniforms and equipment, and they were about to not have a season. The Baker Mayfield Foundation, I think it's Baker and Emily Mayfield Foundation, donated $19,000 to the school, and they are now state champions. So shout out to Baker Mayfield and the
Dollar
Baker
and
and
dream.
Emily, Baker and Emily
or
Foundation.
$1 million in a dream. hey, shout out to I had a shout out just now, and that Baker Mayfield news is good, so I'm glad. I had one shout out. Kev, you got any shout outs?
No, it would have been a shout out to the Miami basketball team for starting 4-0, but they lost to Drake today. So,
yo, sold to Drake. They didn't lose, they sold. Hey, FAU won today though. Shout out to FAU. They won at the I think the Myrtle Beach Invitational. I had them on the money line, so they cashed during the pod. I had to hold my excitement in.
Well, since you brought it up, FAU, shout out to them. Hopefully they can bring Ray Lewis in and get that done. That would be exciting to see in South Florida.
Yeah, I think the Owls need that like killer mentality, man, so they can really start, winning games. But
hey man, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, yo,
it's not over. What did I have, bro? You know what? I don't know, but shout out to Dalton Connect, bro, because bro might be rookie of the year. It's between him and McCain for real.
Shout out to every team that let Dalton Connect fall to the Lakers too. Let Dalton Connect be coached by JJ Redick.
9 threes. That's some serious shit, man.
Hey, even the Utah head coach said everybody knew Dalton was going to shoot except for my team.
Yeah, he clowned the boys. I ain't gonna lie.
His team has a lot of work to do. So,
ladies and gentlemen,
we got good basketball tonight. What we got tonight? Who any marquee games tonight?
I believe
not a lot of.
Yeah, it's a short slate tonight for basketball.
Yeah, not a lot of NBA. I think they've been laying off the Thursday night slate. There was only one game last Thursday. I think they've been cutting down on that during football season.
Yeah, 4 games tonight. Pistons at Charlotte, Minnesota at Toronto, Jazz at San Antonio, Magic at Lakers for the nightcap.
Hey, I think LaMelo Ball getting benched. Hopefully that little fire, a little humbleness pie, whether it was deserved or not. I'm not in the Charlotte locker room, but the coach, he's a new coach. And to me, he has the locker room's respect. I see them winning some games in Charlotte this season. They don't look like so much of a joke every game. And so he was, benched late in that fourth quarter for Trey Mann in Brooklyn in a game that they could have won. Let's hope that, kind of pushes them and catapults them to more greatness going forward.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. As we cross this hour 20 mark, this has been your Thursday night All Things Sports talk show on the All Things Sports Network, brought to you by Small Town Productions, ticker up top, brought to you by ESPN Bet. If you tapped in on the live, yo, Ev, we ain't shout you out, but you was tapped in the whole time. We appreciate you, and you was on Twitter with it, so we appreciate you even more, being off the usual YouTube comments. Thank you so much for tapping in live. If you tuned in after the fact, thank you for taking time out. Happy holidays. Stay safe. We will see